Like, he just introduces his 64 or whatever.
Alright, guys and gals, we are here. We're ready to play some more Star Fox. This time it's going to be Star Fox 64. And we have a very interesting one set for you guys. Instead of doing the usual 100% speedrun, we have a score attack race this time around. So, for commentary, we have Drazzle 100. And I Got Bored. How's it going, guys?
It's going pretty good.
And I do apologize if I'm butchering names again. I typically try not to do that.
We've also got Shnaff, who will be running hard route, and Rakanai, who will be running easy route. Shnaff is on the left, Rakanai is on the right. First of all, we'd like to thank you, Toko Tomcat, for putting on this marathon and for having us. We'd also like to thank Lilat R for offering us this opportunity. If he had not opted out of doing a speedrun of this game, you might have seen some actually good gameplay. Once we start Corneria, things will be non-stop action, so before we start, I would like to take a brief moment to explain how scoring works so that when we start the run, we can talk about the actual levels.
Exactly, good point, because this one's a little bit different than what we do for races anyways, because this is all by score, so that's why there's no timers, but it's all about that final score at the end of Venom.
Yeah. So for those who have not played the game, you can charge your lasers by holding the A button. The way scoring works in this game is when you charge shoot an enemy, you'll be awarded a bonus point for every enemy hit indirectly by a charge shot's explosion. Now, one might think the secret to getting a high score is to just lock onto everything, but you end up losing a point for every enemy you hit directly. Because of this, both runners will be firing unlocked charge shots, which can be done by holding down both Z and R. On top of being able to fire a charge shot straight ahead rather than at a target, you save a significant amount of time not having to wait to lock on to something, and you don't have to deal with it locking onto the wrong enemy. Also, by doing this, we can make the charge shot detonate off a surface like water or a wall, or let it travel to its max distance and have it explode on its own. Now that that's out of the way, when both of you are ready, we can begin.
Good to go whenever.
You good to go, Shnaff? I assume you are? You there?
Audio issues again, maybe?
Uh-oh.
Discord.
There he is.
Okay. Alright, so, I'm gonna give a countdown, and we can begin.
Alright.
3, 2, 1, go.
Start this time.
So, to start off, both runners will be firing a charge shot, firing 2 charge shots at the first groups of enemies that come in, but they'll do it off of a visual cue, so that it explodes from its max travel distance rather than from contact, which will get hit +1 and a hit +2. And then they will fire it off the water to kill these 2 that spawn diagonally. And then they're going to hold break a specific amount in order to get enough distance so that the charge shot detonates on its own to get +5 off these guys. If both runners do this water section correct, they'll have 22 coming out of it. Then they'll be firing charge shots at the ground here. This is really fun to do, actually. Like, it's fairly easy to do, and it looks cool doing it. So, Corneria is a very technical level. Like, you might not think it is, but it's actually one of the more difficult levels in the run, in both runs. There's a lot of very precise shots, but one of the most interesting pieces of score tech in this game are these red mech things, because when you destroy them, their base is left behind. But because their base is actually flagged as an enemy, you can fire charge shots at a building or at the ground or wherever near it, and you'll get +1s off of it. So you get a lot of bonus points from that.
So one thing that you might notice both Shnaff and Rakanai doing is flying in and out of various buildings in this level. And they're doing that to spawn additional enemies, which you obviously want for more points. It does make just flying through this level a little more difficult, however, since it's very easy to get hit and get thrown off of kind of your route in this level.
Alright, one thing that you'll notice is even though one will be going to Medio and one will be going to Sector Y, both of them are going to save Falco. That is because there are more points on the hard route of Corneria than there are on the easy route, and because you can change course, it is optimal for score to actually accomplish Corneria rather than just complete it. So you can see that Rakanai is flying through these arches, and that's how you... Saving Falco and then flying through these arches is how you do the accomplished mission for this if you have not played. Alright, so real quickly I'm going to talk a bit about the differences in the routes. Shnaff will be doing hard route, which consists of Sector Y, Aquas, and then Zonus. Rakanai will be doing easy route, which consists of Medio, Katina, and then Sector X. Both routes will then converge on Macbeth, the train level, and then complete the hard route of the game by going to Area 6 and then Hard Venom. So, easy route is fairly easy to get into. If you have not played this game, or if you like this game and you want to get into score running, we definitely recommend going to or learning easy route first. It's pretty easy to emulate what you see and get a fairly decent score, but if you're going for hard route, it is very technical, and like the skill difference is absurd, honestly. Like, it takes a lot more practice to learn hard route than it takes to learn easy route, and like actually get a good score from it. So both of them are currently fighting the attack carrier, which is from Star Fox 1. It's a pretty nice reference. Something about the bosses is they're on a timer, so if you take too long to destroy them, they'll be worth less points. This is not an issue for pretty much all bosses in the game except for the boss of Area 6. But you get hit plus 10 for killing it at the max, like, optimal speed, and then hit plus 5 if you take too long, and then less and less, so it's just worth 1 point. I don't really know what the next step down is, because I never do that badly at it. I don't know a single player who does.
I think it's hit plus 2 and then hit plus 1.
Yeah. Alright, so Rakanai is starting up Medio. Medio is... there are a lot of points at the start of the level. You can get up to 50 points. Most people get like 10 to 30, but you can get like up to 50-ish from the start if you're really good at it, by destroying these meteors. After that, there's going to be this section where these enemies will be behind these rocks. And by firing charge shots at the rocks, like firing unlocked charge shots at the rocks, you can destroy them indirectly as opposed to directly and get bonus points for it. And then after that, there will be these these couple of giant rocks before this tunnel, and these rocks are actually flagged as enemies. So if you spam charge shots at them at like the right distance away from the center, so like a specific shot at the spot of the rock, you can get hit plus 1s. So it's pretty interesting score tech. Pretty much all of the middle section of Medio is very boring, so after this part we're going to start talking about about Shnaff's side. So Sector Y is one of the most technical levels in the game. It involves a lot of visual cues and very precise timings. I got bored. Do you want to say anything about Sector Y?
Yeah, so Sector Y being level set in space is pretty heavily reliant on scoring, or it's pretty heavily reliant on the mechanic where charge shots auto detonate after a certain distance and a certain amount of time. So you're going to see Shnaff go for a lot of shots that auto detonate in the presence of enemies, so you got extra points. This is also the first instance in this route where Shnaff will take an intentional death, and he's going to do that in order to score additional points at the mid-ring, because one peculiar thing about the stage is that a couple of groups of enemies near the mid-ring will respawn when you spawn back at the mid-ring after a death, so you can detonate a bomb right as you spawn in order to get those additional points, so you effectively get to kill that group of enemies twice.
So, Rakanai made a pretty terrible mistake that he caught pretty late. He didn't kill all the enemies that chase Peppy, and because of that, certain groups of enemies did not spawn. But beyond that, it is a pretty solid Meteo.
So one thing you might notice on Shnaff's side of the screen is that some of his shots were arcing in kind of a strange way that you normally don't see in this game. And that's because in certain parts of Sector Y, you're either traveling kind of up or down with the stage, and that causes your shots to kind of angle in the, I think, opposite direction. So that's why all of Shnaff's shots were kind of angled down.
Alright, on Rakanai's side, you see him firing these charge shots at the enemies chasing Slippy. He's getting a bunch of hit plus ones and hit plus twos off of them. It's pretty interesting, but coming up is the most important part of Macbeth, or not Macbeth, Meteo. Wrong M word. So while going through these warps, if you've ever done this, you know that it's really hard to control your R-Wing, because I think it inverts your Y-axis on the controller when you do it. But there are these groups of 8 enemies in little tiny clusters, and in order to hit them, you can lock onto the first 2 clusters just fine, but after that, you don't really have enough time to do that. So you have to hold Z and R in order to make it so it doesn't lock on, which makes it so you can't sharp turn. So you have to do that bit of movement really carefully, because you don't have a lot of time in between. So Meteo is fairly straightforward. He's going for these bombs. Oh, he missed the somersault there. Well, he got most of them, so that's fine. He's going for the bombs instead of lasers. I mean, he already has blue lasers, but even if he had to retry and had single lasers, he would have gone for the bombs anyway, because bombs are way more valuable on this level than lasers. At the end of the, he's not there yet, but the last section of Meteo, there's a giant meteor field that every meteor drops an item. Those items will always drop, or those meteors will always drop the same item, so they're memorizing a specific route to pick stuff up is fairly important.
So the bosses that Shnaff is fighting right now is not that difficult, but his movement patterns are random, so it's sometimes difficult to actually land a kill on the boss. And the previous 2 mechs that he fought actually also kind of have that sort of unpredictable behavior, and sometimes your teammates can kill the mechs and take your points, so that's something to watch out for if you're playing this level for score.
So that was a pretty good Meteo. It could have been better if he didn't mess up the enemies that chased Peppy, but take it from me, it's really hard to get over 400 on Meteo, so that's actually pretty solid. So you could go to Katina, but I'm going to talk a bit about Aquas before I start talking about Katina, because you can pretty much talk about Katina at any point. So, Aquas is done in the Blue Marine, so that's pretty different from all other vehicles in the game. So the interesting thing about the Blue Marine is that you don't have charge shots and you don't have bombs. Instead, you have torpedoes, which are basically charge shots, except there's no charge up time for them. You can only have one torpedo on the screen at a time, but the fact that you can that there's no charge up for them means you can actually manipulate them to get extra points. So throughout the level, there's going to be these areas where you see him spamming torpedoes against like seaweed or a pillar on the ground, and that is he's trying to hit stuff indirectly, like the clam up here, and by doing that he'll get a ton of points off of it. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, this trick is basically the reason why Aquas is, or the hard route is a viable route, is because you can spam torpedoes against stuff throughout this entire level. Like, if you're just doing this normally, like, it's pretty, like, it's not hard to get to the metal, which is 150, but it's hard to get beyond that. But you can get to like 300 on this level. And you can get over 300 if you're really good at the level. So, over on Rakanai's side, on Katina, this level is done in 2 phases. At the first phase, you have to kill 10 enemies or wait a certain amount of time. That's, frankly, pretty long, but not too long, whatever, it doesn't really matter. You basically just have to kill 10 enemies, and then the enemy mothership will approach. After the mothership gets over the center, it'll start a cutscene where it releases all of these ships out of the hatches. After this cutscene plays, you have about 3 minutes and 30 seconds to shoot down as much stuff as you can before the core appears automatically, assuming you don't take out all 4 hatches, like the level kind of expects you to. So, the thing about this level is each hatch is worth 6 points, and when the core comes out, the hatches will either stay open or stay closed, depending on what they are when the core appears. So, if they're closed when the core appears, they stay closed for the entire rest of the level, and you can't get the points unless you do some crazy strats where you somersault into them and bomb them from the inside of the ship and take a ton of damage doing it. So basically, Katina is pure RNG. It's a garbage level. Nobody likes it. Well, I kind of like it, but only casually. I hate score running it. But you basically have to kill as much as you can. It's pure RNG. Not really much that can be said about it, though.
So on Shnaff's side of the screen, one thing you might have noticed is that earlier in the level, he broke near a clam, started spamming torpedoes, and then got hit. And that kind of illustrates the difficulty of actually executing the optimal Aqua strats. You're making use of kind of the weird geometry of the level to score lots of splash damage by just spamming torpedoes against the wall or something, but it's actually very difficult to line up with the level correctly to do that. So if you break too late, you might not hit anything. If you break at the wrong spot, you might just clip into the level, get hit, and you can't spam torpedoes anymore. You might accidentally kill the thing you're trying to score splash damage points off of.
Yeah, so
this
it's
is a
like
very
a
difficult level.
starfish.
And what you're seeing Shnaff do now is trying to score indirect hits on these starfish that blow up when they get too close by launching torpedoes and hitting them indirectly, which is actually more difficult than it looks, because the way that the reticle works, the targeting reticle works for the submarine, is that if you fire a torpedo and the reticle locks onto something, which it will do very often, the torpedo will just redirect its flight path to hit whatever it is that you're locked onto. So You
Yeah,
have to be
normally
very careful with your movement in order to actually score points. So it's very difficult to score a lot of bonus points in this area.
yeah, normally when you're doing stuff in the R wing, you have to hold A button to charge up a shot in order to lock on, but this is automatic. You can't control it locking on other than by not aiming at stuff. So movement is extremely important in Aquas. And you really didn't like the worst thing that can happen on Aquas is you lock onto something that you need to spam points off of after a torpedo's already been launched, and then you can't do anything about it. The torpedo's gonna destroy your spam target, and you're not gonna get any spam points off of it.
The spam point at the end is particularly difficult, not only because the actual kind of lining up with the terrain on the level is difficult, but because you're also leaving a lot of enemies alive, so they're going to shoot you out of position and screw up your point spam.
So really quickly, while it's still relevant, on Rakanai's side, you see that there's a timer. Actually, it might have already passed. I'm not sure how this audio is syncing up. But after the core appears, you have 2 minutes that you can do whatever you want in the level. It expects you to shoot the core, but honestly, by the time you destroy the core, it's worth 2 points, or 2 or 3 points, and it's honestly worth it to just kill all the remaining enemies that you can. If you can destroy the core, that's good, but honestly, you want as many points as you can. On Shnaff's side, you see him destroying these barnacles. These barnacles are worth hit plus 3 for each one. So, you don't want to destroy these pillars before you destroy the barnacles, because otherwise you can't destroy them. And you can destroy one of the pillars, you just can't destroy both of them. And the rest of the boss is fairly straightforward. Shoot him to make the eye appear and fire a torpedo at the eye. And not die to these bubble things or whatever it's firing. So, the beginning of Sector X, where Rakanai is going to next, is very important. You can get like 100 points by the end of the beginning section if you're good, but like you have to be really good to get that high. Typically, if you're using casual score strats, like if you're doing like trying to go for metal, you'll use a bunch of bombs and you'll get probably like 50 to 60 by the end if you're good with your bombs. But you'll see that he's firing charge shots at these enemies, well, after he resets to get his bombs back. You'll see that he fires charge shots at these enemies instead, because bombs don't give you bonus points. They're good for cleaning up if you are to kill stuff, but in order to get bonus points, you have to fire charge shots at stuff.
It's also more advantageous to fire bombs at the second wave because they're more spread out.
Yeah. Although if you're really trying to get max points, you do have to charge shoot them too, but
yeah,
that's more of an IL strat. Or if you're like going for insane scores.
Meanwhile, Shnaff is going to Zonus, and this is a stage where you're going to be shooting a lot of things. There's just a lot of enemies on the stage. He's going to restart because having bombs at the beginning of the stage is really good because they're just large swarms of enemies that are difficult to deal with all at once.
The two most important sources of points in this level are searchlights, which are coming up, and these shrimp that jump out of the water. The thing about the shrimp is they're only above water for a short amount of time before they go back under in most cases, and they're in a good position to hit with an indirect shot for less time. So a lot of these shots are really tight in order to get the points.
These shots are definitely tighter than they look.
Yeah. And with these searchlights, well, first of all, they have weird hitboxes, so that doesn't make things easier, but you'll notice that he's not hitting them directly. he's hitting to the side because each one is worth. Well, if you have not destroyed the or if you've not been caught by a searchlight, they're worth hit plus 2. But he can also get an additional hit plus 1 if you notice that multiple hit plus bonuses are appearing next to each searchlight that he shoots. You get multiple. So it's important not to get caught up until like a specific point. But really quickly on Rakanai's side, you notice that he took the right path at the split in Sector X. There's a lot more enemies here, and you'll notice that he's firing a lot of his shots at these platforms and trying not to hit these turret things directly. Actually, something else that we forgot to mention about Sector X is it's really important which team members are alive coming out of Katina. Peppy will spawn like 20-ish points because every enemy chases him and he's incompetent. And Slippy, if he's dead, him coming back will prevent a Killer Bee, which is worth hit plus 3, from spawning. So this guy here that shoots the rings that everyone hates that have tiny hitboxes and you can't lock onto, those things are worth hit plus 3, and that guy will not spawn if Slippy is dead because Slippy needs to respawn for the cutscene in the boss fight.
So you're about to see Shnaff on Zonus skip a searchlight here intentionally, and he's doing that because the latter half of the stage will have a lot more enemies if you've been spotted than if not. So you're going to see a lot of action on Schnaff's side of the stream because this second half of Zonus is by far the more difficult half. And
really quickly, I didn't actually mention it at the time, I kind of forgot, but there's actually 7 enemies in the background while the boss is building itself in Sector X that most people don't see because they're frankly really hard to see. You can get 9 points off of those pretty consistently. You can possibly get more if you hit some of them indirectly, but it's typically 9 points. So you can get 20 points from the boss by getting the hit plus 10 and the 9 points. So, you mind talking about this section on Schnaff's side, real quick?
yeah, so the section that Shnaff is going through right now is probably the most difficult section of this level. You notice that he flew in between the platform and the ship. That's a very tight window, and if you miss it, then you risk going underwater with your R-Wing for a few seconds. You have basically no control over what you're doing while you're underwater, and you just
take damage.
And it's also very easy, as you're kind of seeing right now, to just take a lot of damage in this level. Everything's firing stuff at you, and you're trying to kill all the enemies, so you're not really barrel rolling as you might in like a casual playthrough. So it's very easy to take a lot of damage from obstacles and enemies here. It's very easy to lose your wing, and it just kind of snowballs if you're having a poor Zonus run.
Yeah, by the way,
So
Rakanai's gonna actually...
Shnaff didn't do any of that.
Yeah, Rakanai's gonna wait here for Shnaff to catch up because the routes merge at Macbeth, and there's not really any point to waiting. Or to going fast since this isn't a speed run. So we can talk about the boss here. This boss is very interesting in that it can only be hurt with bombs for like the first, for most of it. Like in the end, you do kill it with lasers, but for the most part, you're firing bombs at it. So because of this boss is very generous in that each of these little cannonballs that it fires, if you shoot them or destroy them with a bomb, they'll drop a bomb. So it is important score tech that you build up a supply of bombs before finishing off this boss, which actually goes into a difference between the easy and the hard route on Macbeth. At the beginning of Macbeth, Rakanai is going to restart because he has either 1 bomb or no bombs. I'm not sure exactly how much. But that's not enough. He needs 3 bombs minimum. So Shnaff is just now beat the boss. So Rakanai, if you'd like to get into the menu and get ready to reset, like get into the level and get ready to reset the level for the bombs. And Shnaff, you can just give the signal when you've started.
Yep,
When you
I'll let
started. What?
I'll let you know.
Alright. By the way, 400 plus on Zonus is really hard to do.
I missed like a really straightforward fight on these two. It was kind of silly, but
Alright, so we should talk about Macbeth a little bit. The stage is done on the tank, the Landmaster.
You can go now, Rakanai, by the way. Sorry, I'm not sure if Shnaff came through.
yeah, I started. So yeah, let me know.
And
So, alright. So the way, or something interesting about Macbeth is something that varies between the casual playthrough and the score run is most people think that they need to destroy these train cars. And you technically do. That's important. But destroying these rock cars is a huge waste. I'm surprised that that turret thing's alive, Shnaff. So you'll see that he's firing these, or that they're firing these charge shots at the rocks. Each rock can take 2 charge shots before being destroyed, and you can get hit plus bonuses off of them. So you can get 3 points per rock that is not hit directly. Like, you lose points if it's hit directly, obviously. So the idea is you want to destroy as many rocks as you can with as few charge shots as possible. Or, well, as few direct hits as possible. In this middle section here of the level, you'll notice that they're firing charge shots into the air, which is actually kind of hard because you can't prevent it from locking on, because Z and R actually, like, makes you hover instead of making it so you can't lock on. So controls are different with the Landmaster, so you have to, like, be careful with your timing of your charge shots so that they never lock on. In this section, you
fire off charge shots fast.
Yeah. In this section, you notice that the camera tilted towards the ground. This causes an interesting effect to where if you fire straight down, your charge shot for whatever reason will go into the ground and, like, explode right in front of you. If you hold the brakes, it messes with the camera, so this doesn't happen. But so you have to be going normal speed for that section. Shnaff is going to try, well, both runners are going to try to get some extra points to spawn. Shnaff missed it.
So if you land on the tracks, kind of far enough on the tracks and kind of stay on for long enough, then
Flippy
two
spawns
extra enemies
2 whole points, or 2 whole enemies.
will spawn, so that's some extra points, but it's very difficult to do, especially if there's little trains around.
Yeah, so you'll notice here, unlike other places, unlike earlier in the run, they're firing the charge shots at the walls as opposed to, like, the rocks directly. And like I mentioned earlier, the fewer direct hits you can get on these rocks, the better, because you get hit plus bonuses on rocks that are hit indirectly. So destroying all of them without actually hitting them directly is worth a lot more. You'll notice that both of them already have the medal before going into the tunnel. So that's actually very good. Like, typically if you're playing this game normally and you're not, like, doing all of these strats, you'll have 150 to 160 by the end of the level, but you can get up to, like, you can get, like, 260 by the end of this level if you do all of these strats.
So one thing worth mentioning here is that There is an intentional death that you can take to score 4 additional points because one of the train cars will respawn. One of the train cars that you can kill before the mid-ring will respawn. So
Yeah,
we're seeing
Rakanai is gonna-
Rakanai taking the intentional death here. But
And
Shnaff is
is-
not taking the intentional death.
Because if he does that, he loses his blue laser, or he's gonna lose his hypers that he kept from Zonus. Rakanai
Yeah.
restarted at the start of the level for bombs because they were necessary for the run, so it doesn't really hurt to restart here, or well, to take this death. And also by doing this, he starts with 3 bombs, so he can finish the level with 6 bombs, as opposed to like 4 or 3. Another thing worth noting in this level is if you come from Zonus, Cat will be in this level, and she can steal points. So it's definitely quite a bit harder coming from Zonus.
Yeah,
Another
she
thing-
steal points
yeah.
in the section immediately after the first set of rocks. So that difficult section is made even more difficult by Cat's presence.
Yeah. Another interesting thing about this level is if you're going for IL strats, like if you're going for individual level strats, like you're not doing a full run, you're just trying to get the highest score you can, you actually don't want to hit the switches. You actually want to fight the boss because a bunch of enemies spawn after the switcher that you can get extra points off of. Oh, well, it's only a 2-point difference, you said? Well, either way, there's... either way, it's more beneficial to fight the boss normally, rather than hitting the switches. So... Alright, now both runners are going to be going into Area 6. By the way, way to get caught by the boss, Rakanai.
Well, of course. Gotta have a little bit of challenge here.
Oh, only 2-point difference
Okay.
between the runners. Okay, I misread you like that. Oh, you can get 100-ish if you fight the boss. Okay, so it's a substantial difference. And yes, I'm just reading chat at this point. Okay, so both runners are going into Area 6. Area 6 is the single largest point difference, or it's the single most important level in the entire run. You can get a lot of points. Hopefully both of the runners will be able to break the score cap. I'll bring that up a bit later when it becomes relevant. Actually, Brack and I won't be able to, but I'll go into that later. He'll be able to hit it, but... so,
Day.
Area 6 is pretty different from the rest of the levels of the run in that it's the only level in which having... it's the only level in which having hypers makes a substantial difference. As you noticed throughout the rest of the run, everything that they were doing was based on charge shots. And bosses are typically fairly easy to not lose the plus 10 on. So even if you fight them with singles, it doesn't matter. So these guys could have, like, alright, Katina maybe might have made a difference, but here on Area 6, there are these satellite things throughout the level. And you want to destroy as many of them as you possibly can. And having hypers for that is really important. There are 7 laser upgrades throughout this entire level, more if you cheese it. Hopefully we can actually demonstrate that, assuming one of the runners has a terrible enough score after the checkpoint. The medal for this level is actually 300. However, hopefully both of these runners will get 500 plus. The big secret to this level, beyond like just knowing where everything is and where to fire and stuff, is holding brakes. Brakes are a huge part of this level. It's definitely weird to get used to braking as part of the run, if you're used to casual gameplay, because it's weird to mash lasers and hold the brake and also be holding Z and R. So
Yeah,
you have
I
to have
actually use
a
a
pretty
claw
weird grip.
grip
Yeah,
when I
you
play
have to
this
use
game.
you have to use a really weird grip to be able
Because
to
I
do
play
it.
GameCube
Yeah, you have to
controller.
claw.
So it's definitely a learning curve, but you gain so many more points by holding brake through certain segments of this level. This middle section that Shnaff has just entered. Well, first of all, you'll notice these guys in the middle zipping around, firing a bunch of lasers. You do not want to lock onto these guys, because if you lock onto them, then they're going to zip around and your charge shot's going to change directory, or it changes direction to try to follow them, and they're going to zip somewhere else. It's just going to take forever to hit them. But you want to get as many hit plus bonuses off of these as you can. But what makes this even harder is these satellites, you do not have a lot of time at all in order to kill them. Like, it may look like it's fairly easy, but it's not. Like, you have to have a really high mashing speed, and you also have to, like, know when to go for what, and how much, or when to hold brake, and stuff like that. So, Shnaff has a pretty good checkpoint score. We'll see what Rakanai gets when he gets there.
So that laser upgrade that Shnaff just got is really important, even though he already has hyper lasers, because getting the laser upgrade refreshes your wing health. So, and you're going to see Shnaff taking a lot of intentional damage just to get as many points as possible to be able to shoot all the ships that he can. Losing a wing in this area is devastating. You have single lasers, your flying is worse, you just don't want it to happen. So,
and also, then you have to fight Wolf with singles, and nobody likes that.
yeah. Like, it's another laser upgrade that's very good.
Honestly, this last wave of enemies with all these ships it's incredibly difficult. Like, I can't even begin to describe how difficult it is.
Yeah, it takes all of the difficulty that is associated with the first part of the level, the mashing, the being able to choose your targets, being able to break strategically, and just amps it up. So this is a very challenging section.
So, Shnaff has made it to the boss. An interesting thing about this boss, well, there's a couple interesting things. First of all, this boss, pretty much aside from the giant laser, the seizure laser later on, deals exclusively physical damage, meaning you can and probably will lose your wing to it if you're not careful. Also, I'm not sure if it's once you hit a tentacle or once it's destroyed, you have a certain amount of time before you're just unable to damage the rest of the tentacles. So, it'll eventually teleport and then you'll get another shot at it later. But this boss has the strictest timer, or at least has the longest time it takes to kill it. And maybe the same timer, I don't know. Either way, it's one of the hardest bosses to get hit plus 10 on.
You get very few opportunities to actually damage this boss. So you basically have one shot to get the hit plus 10.
Yeah. And if you're really good, then you could possibly take out all 3 tentacles in one phase, and that'll definitely save you times. But more often than not, it's going to teleport before you've destroyed all 3 tentacles, and then you have to wait longer, and it's a whole process. Yeah, this boss is not nice. It's a run killer. And you pretty much exclusively get hit plus 5s if you're on PB pace. Like, if it is required that you beat it as quickly as possible, whether it's a speed run
That's
or
really
whether,
tough.
yeah, if it's a speed run or if it's a score run, if you're required to get this boss max points in order to get a PB, chances are you're not gonna get it. This boss is very mean.
So here I'm not really sure what Rakanai is going to do. He can either kill the boss and play Star Wolf with single lasers, or he can take a death and try again.
Honestly, if you want to
And-
take, honestly, if you want to take a death, I'd
lasers.
really like to demonstrate the laser duplication
Alright,
because
well, ready party.
It's up to you.
Enjoy, people.
yeah, laser duplication is something that we found recently. Safety Man accidentally fired a bomb once when he was passing through the checkpoint, and it managed to somehow spawn 4 lasers. Shnaff then took what he saw and... Did you actually get the laser duplication? No, you did not.
None of them even spawned, even though they all died. This game is just destroying me right now. I don't know why it's giving me such trouble. Yeah, should've just gone for it. It's punishing me now for restarting.
You're welcome to die again and just crash into the ships.
We'll give it one more go. Otherwise, I'm just
yeah,
gonna take
yeah,
it.
one more go. If you don't get it this time, then you can just finish it off.
So on Schnapp's side of the screen, he's on Venom fighting Star Wolf, and there aren't a lot of strategies to optimize your score in the stage. But one thing that he tried to do for a little bit was get Star Wolf to fly really close to him and fly down into the ground. Oh, did he get the laser duplication?
You'll see what I said. I've never tried that before. I should do that. You'll see that.
Oh yeah. By the way, if either of these runners can soft lock on Venom, Safety Man said he would donate $50. Although I've never been able to do it intentionally, so.
The way this run's going, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, so it's possible to soft lock on that cutscene there, but you have to be flying in a particular way.
Forever.
I've been waiting for you, Star Fox. You know that I control the galaxy.
You like this speedrun boosting strat?
To come against
It's
me
for you, Lilac.
Nice.
now, you will feel.
Probably like not doing it right.
By the way, did we get any donations?
Yes, we did. I'm glad you asked. So we got a $50 donation from Safety Man that says "Dump it." So that's from him.
I
Dang
agree.
it, safety!
And we had a $15 donation from CMM1215. Says, glad to be able to support you guys this time. Always happy to see Star Fox. Best of luck to all the runners, and thank you for a great Sonic block earlier. So thank you very much from him.
It boots take
Sorry,
a
I
long
forgot
time.
to ask a lot earlier. By the way, you might notice on Rakanai's side, he has 511. That is the score cap. He cannot get higher. So I'll probably talk more about Venom and Andros fight on when Rakanai does it. But for now, let's talk about the score cap. What did you get for your final score, Shnaff, for Area 6?
Oh, I'm not sure.
You got a
559.
559.
Yeah, 559. So Shnaff is running on 1.0, which has this bug to where if you say, or if a level is, or if a run is saved and you've gotten over 511 points on any single level, then it will subtract 256 from it. It'll save it in the correct place of what you got on the rankings, but it'll record the wrong score, and this completely like messes up the, actually after the run, well, Rakanai is finishing up, you're welcome to show your ranking board to show what it does. But
Yeah, it's totally out of whack.
the way they decided to fix it is completely stupid. They made it so you can't get above 511 on a level. So even if you get more points, even if you do really well, like right now, you notice he has 511. He's gonna destroy this boss and get 0 points because he can't go any higher.
Follow me, Fox.
And the benefit of this is it will save correctly, but still that limits his score.
Yeah, that's what that boss is actually supposed to look like, not what happened the first time.
So it says he got hit plus 10, but he's still going to have a 511.
Yeah, it says he got hit plus 10. He did not. He got hit plus 0. No, he got hit. He got hit minus hit plus 0.
Gotta love all the raid party in the chat.
Oh yeah. Everyone's going nuts. Loving it.
So when we get a moment, I have another donation to read.
Definitely go for it.
Alright, so I got like right now, or?
No, go for it right now.
Yeah, you can do it right
We're
now.
out of stuff to talk about right now.
Okay.
You got 5 seconds.
We have a $20 donation from the man, Lilat. He says, super glad in bold to see a score attack at DSC this year. It's an amazing category with an extremely high skill cap. Shoutouts to the amazing score running community that's blossomed within the past few months. This goes towards the winner's choice.
Nice. So you'll have to, both of you will, well, whoever wins will have to actually look at the incentives and actually make a choice. Okay, so we didn't really talk. We mentioned a lot of stuff, a bit of stuff on Venom, but we didn't really talk much. So Rakanai is definitely probably going to go for the hit plus stuff more, maybe.
Nothing's wrong.
I don't know.
If we'll cooperate. Maybe I can.
Yeah, so what Rakanai is trying to do here is he's trying to bait Wolf into going very close to the ground, so he can score. So Rakanai can score splash damage points off of him.
Wolf is
by
not cooperating at
firing
all.
charge shots at the ground. But as you can see, Wolf might not cooperate sometimes. And even if he does, he's firing lasers at you this entire time. So doing the strat for too long can risk taking a lot of damage.
Yeah, this strat is very dangerous. Like, it is surprisingly... it's not really that surprising, because the lasers that Wolf ships fire hurt like crazy. So, yeah,
There
it's
we
definitely...
The other optimization that you can do for score in this level is as Wolf and the Star Wolf crew are flying in, you can actually fire charge shots at the group while they're clustered up and get some additional points that way. And Rakanai actually scored a point or two that way near the beginning of the stage.
So one of the hardest things about Venom looks like Rakanai is not going to get the soft lock.
Sadly.
Oh well. Alright, so one of the hardest things about fighting Wolf is that they're, like, aside from their AI being insane, like, if you're playing this casually and you remember Wolf being fun, then you gotta do a run sometime and you could be like, I can't hit them at all! And they're hitting me all the time. It's crazy. The only reason both of these runners handled Wolf so well is because they've done it a bunch of times recently. It's definitely fairly easy to get rusty on that if you don't practice it. And if you take too long killing them, you will end up losing points. For like about 3 minutes, I don't know exactly how long it is, they'll be worth hit plus 50. So the max that you're supposed to be able to get from them is 204. Obviously, he farmed more hits, so he's at 218 right now. But that goes down to hit plus 30, hit plus 20, and lower if you take too long. So it's really important that you get the max points on Wolf for scoring. So something I didn't talk about Shnaff doing that Rakanai is also going to do is he's going to get an extra point off these eyeballs by firing a charge shot at them when they're right next to each other. He started a somersault before the cutscene starts, and it's going to finish as soon as the cutscene ends. And then you get fire shot when they're as soon as it locks on. You get +1. You can get more points off of them, but it's pretty hard.
Yeah, you have to, in order to get more points off the eyeballs, they have to fly very close to each other, and their flight pattern is essentially RNG. I mean, it's either completely random or it's based off of something that you can't realistically control. So it's very hard to get more than one additional point off of them.
By the way, I was not paying attention at all. Shnaff, what was your score?
270.
270? Or 2070? 2270. 2270. That's pretty good.
Yeah, you got me beat out.
Yeah, I'm definitely pleased.
I
Yeah.
admit defeat.
Nice run.
So while the credits are playing, may as well go through the incentives real quick, and like it's linked in the chat, and pick out something to donate the money that goes to Winner's Choice. I forget how much. How much does he have to spend on Winner's Choice?
That would be $20. So I did not have a chance to update it quite yet, but the ticker is actually up to date. But there is some donation incentives that are not on the ticker. So
Alright,
try to go between the two. I've been trying my best to do it between Restream and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Is there
well,
something that's really close that's like coming up and needs just like a push to get it over the edge?
Die, James.
Looks like
Well, we do have a bid war between Squidward and SpongeBob for my run tomorrow. If you're interested in that. Or we can save it for tomorrow and I can either eat a gummy patty or do like a donation red for the memes.
that's funny actually. Damage with gizmos versus invincibility.
Oh, I'll
Or
take the
like
Venom
has-
TP.
Lilat has an incentive, and so that's something you can put it towards. I don't know what the incentive is, but it says
You know,
it's
let's actually
available.
put it towards a hat in time because I want to see Courier Luke.
Oh, that's already been
Yes.
that's already been met. That was met about $100 earlier.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's been insane.
Money, money, money.
I mean, like I said, I really had to have a lot of time to update it, but yeah.
All right, so let's see what Rakanai got. I'm curious. That's gonna be coming up, and I'm mentioning it now so I don't forget. Like I forgot with Shnaff. So 21-21. That's a good meme.
I couldn't do that again if I tried.
Nice run.
Yeah, you can see on mine, so it says
At least.
2270, and find
Yeah,
which
notice-
run it's higher than. Put it there, but then it's going to subtract what 256 from it.
Yeah.
Once you actually see it in the scores.
Yeah, so go ahead and confirm on the saving of that, and let's take a look at your leaderboard or your rankings board and see what it turned into. So, and that is not actually his first place score. Like he actually has a higher
Yeah.
score. The problem is that on all of those scores, he's gotten over 511 on Area 6. So it's higher than whatever the wrong amount is that was saved. So that's not actually his highest score. Like it said first place, but it's not. It's just first place without any number modifications. So I don't actually know what happens if you break 767. I'd be very curious. Actually, something interesting to mention. Mention that there's a lot of points on Area 6. What's interesting is I've actually seen a task that gets 819. If you have not seen that, I definitely recommend going and looking that up. It's actually pretty good. Like it's very like it's insane. It blows my mind. Like obviously these guys did really good. They got over 500 on Area 6. So Yeah.
There's some people that get crazy high scores. In fact, like when the community was bigger, obviously way before I got here, because I only started like a couple months ago. Like, there's some people a couple people got over 3,000 total, and have some seriously high area 6 scores.
So, let's see. How are we doing on time, by the way? I know we definitely way overestimated.
All right, so time right now we're at 12:22, and we did get the donations that have met for the cockpit expert any percent or whatever that was. I know expert mode. Sorry, make sure I got that right. Corneria only, expert mode, cockpit. That was met.
Prepare to see some hilarious stuff.
Yeah, especially because it's.
Do we want to jump to
controls-
that right now, or do you want to save your score, Rakanai?
I don't need to save the score. It's...
All right, go for it then.
Corneria.
Let's just jump straight into that, and we can finish up sooner.
This cartridge will be obsolete in a minute, anyways.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
let's say in a barrel roll, and it's like when you press on the triggers and like barrel roll, like your camera will spin around, and like if you hold R and your
Actually,
arm is tilted,
Actually, I like that idea, Lila. I'm not sure if Toko will allow it, but after the first person run, if Rakanai wants to speed boost there and try it in first person,
it's impossible.
certainly
I'm pretty
do
sure it's
so.
impossible.
it's almost certainly impossible.
Well, I mean, I personally didn't know who was going to be doing the run itself, so I've got the 4-3 layout ready. So if someone wants to do that, like Medio, yeah, I'm definitely set up for that if we want to go and do that.
It's fine. It's fine. We don't need to do that. But it's
It's
fine.
literally impossible.
I mean, if you
Yeah.
got the time, I'll
Here's the
certainly
thing
give it a
about
shot.
first-person mode. The way it works is turning left and right. You have to hold up, or you have to hold whatever is up for the R wing. Like if you're holding Z or R, you have to hold up or down to move left or right. And because the moment you hit the ring, you're spinning, you basically have to spin the joystick if you're gonna go sharp turn left or right, and you have no bearing on your direction because you're constantly spinning. So I'm pretty sure it's impossible. There's no reason we need to try it, but that would be funny.
Especially because like the controls are different too. There's actually the sensitivity changes in terms of like moving.
Okay, so both of you are on expert mode, right?
Correct.
Oh, I'm not an expert. Sorry.
Okay, you have to be an expert.
I never really play expert.
So whoever gets the highest whoever gets the highest score is the winner. I'm not sure what they win.
I started Corneria.
If someone wants to donate to Winner's Choice for this, okay, so you're in. All right, so Rakanai, you can start, and then give a countdown to skip the cutscene.
Okay, yeah, I'm in the cutscene.
I'll do my best. Andros won't have his way with me.
I'm good. I'm skipping it now.
All right, I just get it too.
All right, put half the Winner's Choice towards that one. All right, so Lilat says you have to fight for 10 of those $20. Yeah, this is a bad idea normally, so I hope you enjoy it because you probably will not see this again.
Oh, come on, there's always May.
That's right. Maybe we could practice do a whole run.
So
Yeah, that'll be
you're
next
telling
year.
us we didn't screw up horribly enough that we're not invited back. We're actually invited back. That's good to know.
I'm actually putting up a challenge. I want to see more Star Fox in the next marathon. We had a good marathon block in May. I want that again. I want the entire Star Fox series in its entirety. So that's my goal. Let's get it done.
Maybe next marathon we can make it an incentive. Either do the speed run or the score run, so we can have that as an extra run. Oh wow!
Oh, I'd be in for this, man. I would be in. I would run this for sure.
So, Rakanai just died.
Oh, I forgot I can't bump into stuff. I've lost the wing. I totally
Oh,
forgot.
dude, that's exactly what happened. I started panicking, barrel rolling, and it just did not end well. I tried to be too fancy with it. I can't do the same strats in this mode.
No, you have to do the same strats. You just have to survive them. Whoever gets the highest score wins, so.
So now I'm crooked too.
And then when you're trying to barrel roll to the side, it doesn't work.
The guys.
I like how going through that arch where the mid-ring spawns a ring instead of a bomb in expert mode. Nice touch.
Ni-
Interesting, yeah.
nice not locking onto those 4 enemies that we keep telling you to freaking lock onto.
Well, I always get them. I got on the run, didn't I?
Yes, but you just missed them twice.
I guess I should be thankful.
Well, I'm in first person.
I will congratulate you on that hit plus 3 though.
I have to be very careful. Oh, man.
By the way, if you take all of your lives and like you're not allowed to retry if you run out of lives, so you are allowed to start from the checkpoint, but you're not allowed to retry
Okay.
if you run out of lives. So
Pretty smooth flying, Fox.
Oh, I forgot about that. Uh-oh.
I'm glad we added this last second.
I didn't take the right way. Gotcha.
I noticed that you crashed into the arch.
Oh no!
So
Whatever
Rakanai,
happened?
if you can actually go through all the arches, you'll probably have a higher score.
Oh no, dude.
I'll take this. Get the one
Oh, yeah.
behind me.
Do a barrel roll!
Barrel roll, barrel roll,
Barrel roll! Barrel roll! Barrel roll!
Use the boost to take.
Let's survive this, Jesus Christ.
I could use some help here, Fox.
Oh well, this marathon's over. Go home, Kappa. Who did the barrel roll too much? Barrel roll!
Can never barrel roll enough.
Oh wow. This is really tough.
I still think that mission was hilarious.
I was dying. I had to mute myself. I was laughing so hard.
So for those in the chat who weren't here earlier today when Argic did his, or Argic did, not sure how to pronounce it, did his Star Fox Zero speedrun, was it a donation incentive that he did that mission? I forget what the mission was called.
Yes, it was. It was the Salvadora. Good old Salvadora.
Go watch
Great
that
mission.
run, like watch the archive of that run. Like obviously watch the actual marathon first, but after the marathon's done, go back and watch that run. That mission is hilarious.
Come on, rings. There we go.
Time for a little payback.
Be careful not to like die to these missiles.
Only once.
So,
Okay, that was bad. That was okay. Acceptable, I guess.
Ah, someone wants to play. Incoming enemy from the rear. Drop out.
alright, so looks like both of these runners are finishing up their runs. So, may as well get some of the post-run stuff out of the way. So, our group is called Hit Plus 64. We actually founded it like earlier this year, like a couple months before we actually got the invite to the marathon. we super love new runners and seeing people like actually see stuff, or actually like helping people improve. Like we're super friendly, and obviously this marathon is not about us, obviously. So let's take a quick moment to talk about. Actually, Toko Tomcat, you can take it from here. Talk about what we're raising money for while these guys are finishing up.
Alright, so actually as we're finishing up here, we are raising money for Extra Life. They do a lot of great work with the Children's Miracle Network of hospitals. If you see them with the little balloon icon, that's them. So what they basically do is allow us as speedrunners or casual gamers or whoever, there's all broads of life, to enjoy what we do best, which is gaming for a great cause. So today was National Game Day, and I mean, personally for me, running this marathon, I don't think this day could have gone any better, because we had a lot of amazing action here with Sonic, but the entire marathon itself, I mean, we've got all different runs. I mean, it's just incredible, and even right now I'm kind of speechless because you guys have been knocking this out of the park. All the action, all the donation incentives that were met, it's like, it's just, wow, I'm speechless. But you guys have been doing a fantastic job being here, supporting us, getting the word out. Everyone being on time, especially for me being a host, is like, that means a lot. You guys, especially with the score run community, fantastic job. Could not have asked for a better group of to do the score attack race. So definitely more of the same next marathon, but we're not done yet. We have one more day to go, so I'm not saying we're done right here, but I'm
honestly really glad this went as well as it did. Like,
indeed.
I was a little nervous going in. And one last bit of last little plug before we end it. So next run up is Donkey Kong Country all stages race. But after that is a Donkey Kong Country 2 any percent race. I got bored, who helped commentate on this. We'll be back for that to comment on that run.
Oh, actually,
so go check. Yeah.
Actually, Candace is just doing self-commentary for that. I guess
you're not
KVZ. Yeah, I guess KVZ dropped out. So
yeah, I have been working on that all day to coordinate that. So unfortunately, some things have happened. Some runners have dropped in and out. But that's where it stands right now. I went ahead and transitioned to that, so you guys can see what's going on. That's only half of the night tonight. So what you're not seeing, I'll go ahead and just mention that we have a 3-person speedrun mode of Fury. That's part 1. The other 2 we have is our first VR run of Super Hot VR. That's going to be with Bean right after the Fury race. And then at the end of the night is going to be Ninja Gaiden Black with my friend Genetics. So that will be ending our midnight speedrun block for November the 5th. And that'll bring us right into the final day for Distance Arcares 2017.
All right. Well, either way, still go check out that run, even though I got bored, so not going to be there. But thanks for having us. Again, we are Hit Plus 64. You can see us around on Twitch. We have Discord and stuff. But if you just look at the Hit_Plus_64 community, you can see us running, assuming you want to see more of this. But definitely, stick around for the rest of this marathon. There's going to be a ton of great runs. And it is all going to a really good cause. So, thanks for having us. And
yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you, Travel.
Thanks a bunch.
Oh, you are very welcome, guys. Great job on the commentary. Great job, runners. We're going to take a very quick intermission here to get ready for some very hot, degenerate Donkey Kong Country action going on. So we will be ready to go with that in just a moment. So stay tuned.